Hey everybody, this is DM Mike, and this is the next time-lapse Tabletop Simulator build for Chapter 6, Hoard of the Dragon Queen. Now I'm going to be looking kind of back and forth. I got a video down here playing actually the time-lapse behind me, so I can keep track of it and kind of commentate on it. But this is for Chapter 6. If you're playing Chapter 6, there's a scenario that takes place in the portal down below the castle, and your characters will eventually get there. And I felt like this is another map, another area that really needed to be built out in Tabletop Simulator. So as you can see here, I started that process, and it took about maybe 5 hours at the most to build. That last 45 minutes or so were just me kind of changing things and fine-tuning things as you would do. I have to say, by far, this is one of my best maps. One of my best maps, if I could toot a horn here. Really because of just the setup. I mean, you can see here at the very beginning, I was putting out all my bags. I had my second board out. All my little tokens were ready to go. I had removed a lot of those things you'll see around the table, those little empty boxed areas that go around the table, and that's where other players can interact with the table if they are playing online or whatnot. Immediately moved those out of the way, cleared off my space, and just got to work. Now, of course, the first thing you have to do, though, I think, personally, if you ask me, the sketch. Right, I'm going to put that up there. This is the sketch I did in Sketchbook Pro to get the ball rolling, right? And I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted water, of course, from the swamp. It needed to have alligators or crocodiles in it. We needed to have pillars. We needed to have statues. We needed to have all that kind of stuff. And, of course, the portal itself and a bridge to the portal since it was taking place in water. Now, none of this was really in the book as far as I remember for the descriptions of the portal. It's just something that I wanted to do. So don't worry about this if you don't want to sell that kind of stuff up. But this map followed everything to the letter from the sketching until how I set it up. And I advise you, this is some of the best ways to do this. Always start with the sketch and then kind of lay out all your models, everything you need, and just start putting it together. So this was a bit tricky at times, but when you really start to look at this, there's only a lot of these models are repeating. A lot, like it's the same rock that goes all the way around the map. It's the same right here, like I'm building the bridge to the portal. That's the same model, just I used the volume scaler, which will be your friend through all these map creations to make just a single bridge out there. This model on top is from Skyrim. Someone just had a Skyrim model and put it in there, so I used it as my portal base. And then, of course, I approached this map as an archaeological dig for the cult, right? I just felt like it'd be kind of a cool idea. A lot of this stuff came from a game called the Solus Project, right? It's just, I've referenced this before. It's not a fantastic, wonderful game, but I played it in VR and it had a really big impact on me. So I wanted a sense of scale here. And I liked the idea of these monolithic statues and these things that are looming over you. You don't know why they're there or what their purpose is or who they are. And so that's how I kind of approached a lot of this map, was just wanted it to feel monolithic. Everything in there was huge. So you can see here I'm making the pillars. There are 9 pillars representing the 9 hells where Tiamat was being held captive. So I put those kind of around the pillars. There I am just kind of repeating that model and kind of moving them into position. I think here, yeah, I was trying to find a giant skull. I wanted a large dragon skull to loom over the portal, but couldn't find one. I searched the workshop, couldn't find anything. And maybe there's one on there, but you get to the point where you can't spend an hour searching for things. So I time limit myself, and if it just didn't come up in my first few searches, it's time to move on. You got to get this stuff done, right? So here I am putting those statues in. Now in my universe and how I'm playing this, those statues represented the martyrs. And I say this at the end of the video too, but they are the martyrs of the cult that, 100 or 1,000 years ago were advancing their cause at the time. The shield maidens, the same thing. So these are just, the characters don't know this, right? They don't know that that's probably an important person and that priest is probably an important person, but it's just there. Again, a sense of presence in the map. But again, I'm kind of adjusting. Of course, that's that same model, right? Volumed up, copied, and placed in. Now you can see a lot of those models are not like lined up against the rock. Again, I approached it like an archaeological dig, so not all the statues are completely uncovered. You can see some of the pillars not completely uncovered. There's also kind of a railing going around the top, also because it wasn't fully uncovered, right? So at this point, this is pretty early in the build. I had actually put the pedestal where the captured Fae was to power the portal, because the portal had shut down, but they were using her, draining her to empower this portal, was dead center. But I felt like that was too easy. The players need to get to her, right? So she needs to be further back. It's just, thinking about gameplay when you're putting the maps together. I know I've talked about this, but I wanted to be a little bit further back, dead center. It was way too easy for anybody to get to, so I pushed it back. Now here I'm kind of messing around with all kinds of lighting. I didn't want to go with my classic, which is I think number 46, which is Nightfall, which has worked for so many maps. Here I think I went with Viking or something like that. I'm not sure what the number is, but I'm always experimenting with a lot of the lighting as I'm going forward. I don't usually do that until much later in the process. Still moving on. Now here's something I did with the map too. Look how high these walls are. Right? I almost created a ceiling with a lot of this stuff, right? I don't typically do that. Sometimes it interferes with models and it gets a little tricky, but for whatever the reason, this time it worked. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that was I wanted to create a high horizon, right? So when I was moving the camera around, again, you felt like you were in the cavern. You weren't seeing the seams at the top. Right? You weren't seeing all that stuff. You weren't seeing all the background, and the illusion is broken. I really wanted to cover as much as I could and contain this map, right? Just again, a feeling of presence, a feeling of atmosphere, and again, that I'm going to abuse this term, right? But monolithic, everything just feeling so powerful, almost Art Deco, right? Like these huge towering things, these monstrosities looking over you as you're fighting. Now here again, now I'm approaching special effects. Of course, I have these in folders, but I used a lot of flame, put them around the pillars one at a time. Here I'm kind of experimenting with some of those effects as well. That represented some of the energy that was coming from Cricket. Whew, that moves really weird in time lapse. Now here, okay, there's a weird effect here. This is actually probably used for a spell effect, actually, if you were playing with other people on the virtual tabletop. It looks like a little meteor, bright asteroid or something hitting the surface. Actually kind of a cool effect. I tried to use this. I really wanted to put it around the portal, but you couldn't scale it. Like, it just wouldn't get any bigger. It just stayed at the same size, so I nixed it. So a lot of this stuff when you're building, yeah, you're going to just expect to spend a lot of time fooling around with those effects, because sometimes you can get a single effect and it has like 30, that's an exaggeration, maybe 10 to 12 different things you could do, different variables that you could mess with. So it gets a little time consuming. Here are the doors. I'm stretching them into the models so they'll feel huge. In the I think last night when we were playing this map, I described them as being about 60 feet tall. They're enormous. They're solid stone. It looks like, King Kong was supposed to come into this area. But there you go, the black obsidian bridge. I found the braziers, which I totally forgot. Sometimes you have so many models, you totally forget. So I started putting those next to these black pillars, or the obsidian pillars, all around there. As you can see there, they're locked down. All models are locked down, as always. Those were a bit tricky. There's a candle. Okay, you can't see it right there next to that pillar, right? Oh my gosh, that candle was such a pain in the butt to try to actually take out of the map. I spent a stupid amount of time trying to get it out of there. And eventually I just gave up, scooted the pillar to the right, and then selected the model and got rid of it. Sometimes models overlap. You don't see it, but they overlap each other, and you just can't select it. You couldn't select it if your life depended upon it. I don't know if this is a feature or not, but I wish you could go into all the assets that are in the map and just delete the ones from the menu, and they would just disappear in the map. So you wouldn't have to hunt for this kind of stuff. Anyway, here's some environmental storytelling. There's been a cave-in. There's pillars that are falling in. Just for the past couple seconds there, I was kind of pushing pillars into the water. It does two things. Okay, obviously there must have been an avalanche in here or something, but also shows the depth of the water. And I think I say this at the end of the video too, which I've already pre-recorded. So I'll repeat myself a little bit there. All right, there we go. We're kind of fooling around with the lighting again, which can be tricky. There's so many light sources when you look in Tabletop Simulator. There's a lot of light sources you can mess with. I think at one point I tried to mess with the light bars again, just got rid of them. Let's see how much time is left on here. Oh, we're almost to the end. So guys, this is going to transition. I'm going to go ahead and shut up, let it finish off here. We're going to transition. I'm going to show you the last bits, like the final result of everything and all the little tweaks and changes that occur those last, 20, 30 minutes up until almost game day when you're making changes like, oh my gosh, I need to put so-and-so in. So anyway, guys, I'm going to let this go ahead. I've got like 10 seconds or something like that. The torches, I'm putting the last bits on, and we'll kind of do another commentary, not in time-lapse, real time, with the rest of the map. All right, guys, I'm out. All right, guys, here we are. This is the final result of this map in Chapter 6. Here you can see the whole thing completely laid out. Like I said, this build took about 4.5 hours, maybe 5 at the most, but those last 30 minutes to 45 minutes were just me tinkering and moving things around in the environment. But most things have stayed the same. I think I added some extra pillars, so this kind of went up way high into the top of the cavern. Same here. I moved a lot of things and put down braziers along this obsidian bridge. And I think the biggest thing was adding, I think I did this in the video, I put the firelights behind the statues, the maidens or the martyrs of the cult. But one thing that was inspired by the Indiana Jones ride at Disney was this eye, right? So all the characters, all these statues each have a red eye. Some on the left, some on the right. And these eyes actually are a trap. They shoot out, for lack of a better word, a laser-like beam that would run across the portal. And it was an ancient trap devised by the wizards a long time ago, former cultists that worship Tiamat to protect the portal. And these statues are huge. They're 200, 150 feet high, maybe close to 200. They're enormous. So these jewels are also rather big. And of course, no one knows what happens to the other jewels that were once there. But they would shoot out across the portal. And I labeled them. You can see here. Actually, I'm bring this up. Here's 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. And I would roll a 6-sided die, and if it came up 1, 2, or 3, well, that statue would shoot the laser. It has a 200-foot range all the way across, and whoever was in that path had to do a dex save. So it was kind of a nasty little trap. And at the end of every round, one of these statues would go. So unfortunately, when I played it, mostly hit my characters, so that was not really all that fun. I guess I ended up trapping myself in that. But anyway, it was fun, exciting. It kind of added something to the battle itself. I'm going to zoom in here. You can see where Cricket is, where she was imprisoned. This is her energy kind of powering the portal on this pedestal. Something else I added a little bit later. We've got some broken pillars here. You can see how big these are supposed to be. So this water is very deep. When this was all set up, there were alligator tokens, crocodile tokens all over the place. And of course, NPCs were set up here while the characters entered from this area here on the obsidian bridge. I had to make a few adjustments to the bridge because I guess I increased the size too much. You see this little step here that was not supposed to be there. This was supposed to be equal and level with the portal, but apparently for some reason I would put the tokens down and the tokens would disappear into the bridge, meaning the hero tokens, enemy tokens, things like that. I don't know what that's about. I thought I would not have a problem with that, but it seems like that's just the case. I don't know if it's just because of this model or if that's just how Tabletop Simulator operates, but it was a little annoying, a little frustrating that I couldn't adjust the volumes and have it just be a solid model still and not have tokens and other items just randomly disappear. It almost feels like, they're hollow. It has a hollow feeling to it. Anyway, guys, this is it. This is the overall model, the portal. It was a lot of fun. Oh, here's one thing I did with the fog. Maybe this will give you some idea. You can see a blue veil right there and right there. It's subtle, right? So you don't see it there, but you can see it along the line. Well, I took the fog, flipped it vertically, and ran it along the this obsidian bridge. So it's, instead of running horizontal, and there are some actually out here on the water, I ran it vertically so it's kind of standing up, and it makes it look like when they're on the bridge that they're seeing tons of fog everywhere, right? It was just a subtle effect. This looks very thick, right? It looks like there's tons of fog there. Well, there really isn't. I just changed the angle of the fog to make it look that way. So you get a clear shot with a little bit of blue horizon down the bridge, but everything else is like really thick with fog on both sides. Just a little added touch. Something you could do also for your maps as well. But anyway, like I said, I think this is my best map. The lighting's good, the fog's good, the setup's good. I mean, if I could toot my own horn for a moment, I just really enjoyed this map. Anyway, guys, that's it. Now we're into chapter 7 and 8, and I got to start looking at the next things, and we'll see what comes next. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.